So don't say anything you don't want the public to hear.
Cool. Hi, public. So are you?
Hold on. Okay.
Have you started the record? Have you started the recording?
Yes, we're live.
Okay. Well, we got 2 minutes to go before the beginning of the meeting.
So still don't say anything you don't want the public to hear. Ah! I attended a work session this morning about the history museum and the future of that. It's all bleak.
You want to give a little update on that later on in the meeting?
Sure. I don't know everything, but I know a bit.
Bruce, I'd like to do an update on LUT communications as well.
Oh, please. Oh, my God. Lauren is out until January 2nd.
It wasn't Lauren Scott that I wanted to communicate about.
Oh, well, I sent a query about something I'm working on, and she says she's gone until January 2nd.
Bruce, it's Gretchen. I will be able to come to the steering committee meeting tomorrow morning. So make sure you send me a link.
Okay, I guess we're going to have a steering committee.
Oh, well, I have had stuff going on in my life that's been crazy.
So Ken Seymour, Paul Johnson, and Stan Hausman all need to be let in.
Yeah, I'm not the host anymore.
Okay.
Just a chicken. One comment as I was watching the board meeting this morning, I can't think of the name. Still no captions. They still say they can't provide captions until several days after the meeting. Not good for us deaf people. Bruce, it's after 7. You can.
Well, you just stop talking and I'll start.
Yeah.
Okay. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the December 16th, 2025 edition of the Washington County Committee for Community Involvement. My name is Bruce Bartlett. I'm the chair, and I've been the chair of this for a few years. I would like to introduce my co-chair, Mary Manso. Turn the camera on.
I'm trying.
There we go. Mary Manso, CPO7 and vice chair of the CCI. Jill, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Lauren, and I am vice chair of CPO4M.
Thank you. Mary, I already kind of introduced you, but
Yeah, Mary Manso, CPO7.
long time CPO7. Gretchen.
There. Okay. Hi. Gretchen Beener. I live in 4K, but I'm an at-large member from the King City Planning Commission.
Thank you for your service. Paul. Unmute.
Yes. What? I'm still making adjustments here.
Introduce yourself. Paul?
Yes.
Introduce yourself.
Paul Johnson.
Okay. Damn clarity. Stan. Unmute.
Thank you. Stanley Houseman, CPO 3, Garden Home.
All right. Ken?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Ken Seymour here from CPO 6.
All right. Eric?
Eric Squires, recovering CPO chair from Aloha.
Takes a while. Jim?
Hi, everybody. My name is Jim Long, Chair of CPO 4M, Chair of the Land Use SNR Subcommittee, and happy to be here.
Great. And Ben?
Yeah, I swear I'm here. Yeah, Ben Marcotte, CPO 3, Garden Home, Raleigh Hills.
All right. And Miss Tree Keepers?
I'm Fran Warren. I live in CPO 1. My heart is also in CPO 6, but I represent tree keepers of Washington County.
So your feet are in the Tree Keepers, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, welcome. I'm curious, how many people, yes, Virginia.
You didn't ask me to introduce myself.
Oh, Virginia. My God, who are you?
Who am I? Virginia Bruce, Chair of CPO 1, involved in community participation organizations since about 2003 or 4 when I met Bruce and got engaged in community participation, which we all seem to value.
Yes, we do. And so we don't have any speaker, but we do have a recording of the Washington County Commissioner work session from December 2nd, where they discussed the CPO program. I'm curious, a show of hands, just raise your hand if you watched the whole work session discussion of the CPO program. Okay, that's what okay. So for those of you who watched it, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to listen to the last half 45 minutes because I just listened to it again and I just want to hear it one more time. And there are bits and pieces in there that are very informative. So at this point in time, LUT, the Land Use and Transportation Department, is discussing with the Office of Access and Opportunity on how to accomplish some of the things that the commissioners charged OAO to do. But before we have a discussion about the future of the CPO program, it is critically essential that we all are on the same page. And so whether you're seeing it for the first time or you are reviewing it, we'll see it. So Virginia, what do you got?
I was just wondering if you're willing to stop it so that we can ask questions during it, or are we all just going to sit here and listen to it and take notes and so forth?
I would request that we take notes and we can go back and look at different parts of it. But it's 45 minutes, and so I don't want to stretch the viewing of it out unless it's critically essential. Jim.
Okay, well, I spoke before the commissioners 2 weeks ago before they did this work session, and I asked for a public hearing because I was surprised that they didn't have any public hearing for it. They were going to try and approve it today on December 16th at their meeting. I asked for a hearing, and then today I also asked for a second hearing, one in the evening, so that other people can attend. But if we're going to listen to all this thing, I think one of the things that we really should focus on first are the two different options that they looked at, not so much the one that they didn't choose, but the one that they chose. And we need to look and discuss that. We need clear information on it. I'm not sure that the work session would do that. The work session will show some of where they're at on some of the things, but it doesn't give the specifics that I think we really need.
Well, there are no specifics. I think that having listened to the work session just before this meeting, the discussion does a really good job in laying out what the commissioner's intention is. So Jim has a point. Option one is that the CPO program, and I'm going to use the term dismantle. Whatever the county thinks it's doing, it is dismantling the CPO program and creating a different entity. So one of my core positions is that it is not a CPO. It is a Commissioner Information District. It is some other thing than a CPO. So in dismantling the CPO, they have two options. Three, actually. One is to change the boundaries so that it matches commissioner districts, and each of the new groups meets every other month, potentially every month if a need is there, but it's every other month to preserve county staff resources. Option two is, and then the focus of those meetings would be on county business. And there's a very interesting little snippet where the chair in the video says that THPRD and the school district and the water district are not paying for the outreach that the CPO program gives them. So finances and restriction of topics is inherent in the new program. Option two would be a more robust process of working with us and the community partners to design a community engagement program. Option two was smacked down and is not where they're going. So it's only instructive to see what OAO came up with to propose. But I thought option two would have been a good way to go, and building on the 2016 transition plan that we created, but it is not to be. Jim.
I agree with you, Bruce. I think it would have been nice to have a public hearing on the two approaches, the two options, so that we could tell them what we thought and how we could work with them on one or the other, and what the benefits would be and what some of the detriments be. So I agree with you. And that's why I'm saying, they should have done a public hearing on the two options.
Well, they're going to do a public hearing for 30 minutes, short cutoff on the day that they get something called an R&O in front of them in January. Mary. Unmute.
It's obvious they don't care what we think. And
well, yeah, our input is not going to make very much, if any, difference in the outcome of the program. So,
just this is Fran. Just
Yeah.
to say one comment. We've read the verbiage from the DLCD regarding the CPO program, and the DLCD the dialogue says that the CCI or CPO program are advisors to the commissioners. And when you say that they're just making this decision without our advice, that to me, I might take that to very specific line item and advise them that they are, I'm going to say, in a violation of that statement.
Well, we'll have to see how this thing. We'll have to see how this thing plays out, because if they have, they're. So I asked Ika a few questions. So Virginia, what do you got?
Oh, I was just going to say that they are correct in saying that many counties use their planning commission as their CCI. And we have always been special, and we've grown to feel entitled of having local input. I would argue that the large urban unincorporated areas in the county make us different, because most of the other areas have cities that represent smaller groups of people, whereas people in Washington County only have their CPO as an interface with the county.
Okay, so That's a very good point, and we will discuss it after the video. Mary, what do you got?
I think we probably just need to play the video.
Yeah, I agree. Fran, what do you got?
Yeah, I just want to counter one of your statements there. The areas that use the planning commission as their CPO, the planning commission is an elected body as opposed to an assigned body. And in those cases, many times it's the sheriff who actually is the planning commission in those smaller areas. So let's not get ourselves in this mindset that, I just want to correct that. Okay, so now
Okay,
you can
and-
watch the video.
Thank you, Fran.
And for those of you who don't know, Fran Warren serves on the Department of Land Use, Conservation and Development, DLCD, on their Citizen CIAC, Citizen Involvement Advisory Committee, CIAC. So she is on the state council that looks at citizen involvement from a planning perspective only, statewide. So without any further ado, keep those points in mind. And here we go. I've queued this up to start right where the chair turns it over to the commissioners to talk about the program.
The board wishes to incorporate into the RNO.
Can you all hear the
Members,
speaking?
we have
Yes.
Yes.
you actually have 3 questions. One is, do you have any questions on what the
We just lost it. It's paused or something.
or option 2? And then
Sound come back?
Yes.
Yeah.
any other considerations that you have in mind? This is a topic that you should be well versed in already, so we don't see the potential for any further delay at this juncture. How would you like to go about it? Want to start from left and go right? Okay, great, thank you.
We've got a number of things here. I'll start with questions. On option 1, actually, I guess this question applies to both, but it came up during option 1 for me. Would the planning commission, in its role in the future with absorbing some of these responsibilities, be able to engage or use the CPOs for feedback or input when needed? Is that contemplated in this plan? Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That would be true in option 1 or 2.
correct.
Okay. Questions about option 2 specifically. When, and you kind of started to answer this at the end, but I didn't really get a firm. When you're talking about co-design, to me, that sounds like time to do it well, like probably more time than maybe you're even estimating. So
I'm sure.
what the question originally that I wrote down was, when would the co-design begin and what is the time estimate to complete it? I think you kind of answered that you would start in May or
So
May-ish, and then you'd be done when you're done.
So we would start some of the background planning in the first quarter, and we would start having conversations with folks in the second quarter, and then really get into the co-designing of pieces throughout the summer. So some background work would happen behind the scenes at the beginning of the year. But when we would really take those summer months and have multiple conversations. We have some thoughts and ideas, but we didn't plan it out completely because we didn't know y'all's direction. But I do think a fall 2026 timeline is doable to have co-created.
And is the co-creation is it 4 different co-creations? Is it co-creation, co-design, with the whole system and then popping that co-design into 4. You get what I'm getting at? Like, are we doing it 4 times? Are we doing it once and then applying it 4 times?
So we'll do it once. So we'll have a county-wide approach that is similar, where some nuances will be different, might be how the meetings are run in the different districts. So, District 4 may want only virtual, where maybe because of land mass, where maybe another district, they want to only meet in person because there's together proximity. Just an example. So the overall structure would be similar for all 4 districts, but the personality,
there may be some flexibility to adapt to situations. Okay. So what have you thought about what would happen or how we would approach this if most of the co-design participants chose to design the system exactly how it is now?
So we would have caveats. One, and most definitely we want CPO members, if they are wanting to participate, but they would not be the only individuals that would be at the table. So we also want, there are community members who haven't participated in the CPO program, but was open to being at the table to co-create. There's a few CBOs that was open to us going to them and spending some time with their clients and helping with that co-creation design as well. We also have over 100 civic leader graduates. I think 150 right now. So we would be tapping into that. So we have Acre as well. So we would tap into a number of different communities to help with the co-designing
Thank you.
of it. Yeah.
My last thing here is going to be more of a statement and just based in reaction in part to testimony this morning and having thought about this for a while. And some of the testimony to me indicates that there's really a desire of some community groups or individuals and community leaders who want to do many activities that maybe should be being done or they may want to do that are not really county work. And some of the descriptions also suggest they want to do that work not in conformance with the way a municipal government has to operate in the state of Oregon around public meetings laws, et cetera. And so I think part of what we may have to help communicate with is that, we're potentially not even saying that's not valuable work or you may not want to do that. It's just that that's not what our programs are going to become. And that's probably a very different lens in the way of thinking, communicating. And it may mean that there are some community groups that develop out of this that we'll be getting testimony in the future from, and that may be organized by themselves that are not directly county related. And if that happens, that happens all the time, all over the place, and it doesn't necessarily make it a county run or led program. That's about all I have. And I guess I haven't commented on the options. I want to hear, oh, can I defer that, please, Chair? I want to hear everyone else's process.
Okay, so we'll have a round 1 and then a round
Sorry.
2.
I can't say yet. I don't know. Like, I need to hear more. Sorry.
Okay. I'll start with questions. By the way, good job on your presentation. This has been a long journey for you all. The 2 questions I have is the 85% of the topic related to quality of life. And I'm going to help you out and give you an example because I'm an active participant of our CPO in my area where I live. Are you referring to the topics on the agenda around THPRD coming to do an update, the firefighters to do an update. Is that what you're referring to, quality of life?
Yes, yeah. So the CPO CCI program was for land use, goal 1. And some of that, I think, over the years has shifted for a variety of reasons, right? When people gather with their neighbors, they want to talk, for some, they want to talk about other. So, yes, that's exactly what it's from the libraries coming out to the fire district or other special districts in the area. Those are those, when we say quality of life, that's going beyond my own.
And then I'll come back to my comments on that. Thank you for that explanation. The second question I have is maybe for you, Courtney, for you. It's particularly around the Planning Commission. Currently, that Planning Commission composition is set. Are you recommending additional member to be added, so the number of the Planning Commission to increase? And will that increase be the same number of CCI members that exist currently? Is that the recommendation?
So my understanding is no, the number of members of the Planning Commission would not change. And if any of past CCI members wanted to be a part of the Planning Commission, they would apply. But the way I'm understanding from LUT, they would not expand the number of seats or members within the Planning Commission.
Rather, it's just really focused. If you have questions about land use issues, it goes to the Planning Commission. I think that's what you're trying to get across. Yep.
And that is how some other local governments operate and meet the goal 1 requirements.
Yep.
Yeah, just to that point, we did we did a survey. I didn't do it. Your team did it back about a year ago, and out of the 36 counties, 23 are using the Planning Commission for that CCI rule right now. About 29%. Well, we looked at 17 cities. There's over 200 in Oregon, but there are about 29 of the 17 are also using the Planning Commission for that CCI rule.
Yeah. And then my general comment before we get into the options here is change is hard. I get it. And change is needed because there's always good that comes out of change. But that the CPO brings to especially property owners, and the quality of life description or the scenario we talked about is actually one asset that makes CPOs great. It provides a lot of good information. And one of the things I really appreciate for the CPOs long before I was even elected, I really got a lot of good information. And then there's a lot of land use information that comes to the CPO. So I think I'm a bit concerned about shifting that. Where do residents actually get flow of information? And I was trying to intently listen to you all, didn't hear any confirmation that the current structure of flow of information will continue this way rather than change, right? Like what is, so I try to listen to that. Maybe you can come back and clarify. But, you know, I mean, I've said it before, my CPO, I really like how it exists and it works. It works for my neighbors. It works for me. But I understand. I think from the first staff, when I came on board, convinced me and the board then that change is needed here because there's a lot of different processes that exist, different CPOs, and as a governmental entity, we need to make sure that we're consistent and that we're not breaking any laws, and also we're accessible. But
and then the middle transition team that picked it up, this project, same thing, same narrative. And then you, the three of you now carrying this to the end, same narrative. So I want to make sure that I'm convinced that change is needed. When and how fast we get there is a little bit of the questions in my head that's circling, and what the actual desired outcome is when we get there. How would we know? Type question.
Can I jump in and answer that question and maybe bring a bit of clarity? And I'm going to specifically talk about and focus on a CPO model where it's a CPO per district. Okay. So Commissioner Fye, directly to your question, there would still be land use engagement that LUT would do through that. There would also be an opportunity to have other major initiative county programs use those 4 CPOs for engagement on county-wide projects. I am not disputing the value that THPRD brings or the districts to community hearing that. The reality is currently those districts are not coming in to help fund the model. And that brings confusion about whose meeting it is. It brings from what was talked about from just the regulatory structure of open meetings laws too. That's a complicating factor. So I just wanted to kind of answer your planning commission question, but then add in how other county government services would be able to participate.
We talked robustly in my briefing that the amount of coordination that goes, the confusion, the missed opportunity of revenue to actually bring into the county. So we are back. I agree. I think that's a very good foresight, I think, to see how other jurisdictions could pay into it. The other thing that I want to bring forward is, I know you mentioned virtual meeting availability. Perhaps District 4 was called out because of the geography. I agree with you on that. It's a pretty big district in terms of, but here's my concern. I think we're alienating people and confining them into their houses. I think the government should be an opportunity for people to come out. So I don't like the idea that virtual, I think it's a one idea, and this is the new norm. We didn't know Zoom existed before 2020, right? But now we know. So I'm not saying no to that idea, but I also want to make sure that our elderly community is supported, and that we're facilitating ways to bring people out. And sometimes, and I know for our CPO, that might be the first time people are getting out of their houses. So I don't want to take away an added value that exists for our residents, and not to assume everybody is, out and bustling, in the world.
Are there any other considerations you have? That was the third question.
That consideration, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, virtual.
Option 1 or 2?
I think that we're coming back.
You have the opportunity to.
I wanted to ask it too, so I'm glad you did, Chair.
Commissioner Treese.
Thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you for the clarification about land use issues might still come in either model. I think that's important to me to understand. I also want to
know they will, though, for specific development applications, they need to be direct planning commission, the planning commission.
I understand that.
Yeah, good.
The other piece that the other question I have is in option 1, you talk about it being an every other month meeting. I assume that applies as well in option 2. Is that right? It wasn't stated there.
So no, we did not, because it would be co-created.
The frequency is part of the code.
The frequency is part of the code,
but it's not part of, okay, but it's determined by the first.
How do you deal with the staff limitation?
So with the co-design, even if what we know is right now, 4 meetings a month is doable with our current staffing. Absolutely. So we know that in option 2, if part of what comes out of the co-design is that it's monthly, we already know currently with what we have, we're able to sustain it.
Because currently you're doing 6 to 14.
So in the first,
It may not be sustainable for your commissioners.
so first option, that was one of the rules, one of the process pieces there. And in the second option, it's co-design, as you said. Okay, let me, and now I'm going to go into other questions. I talked about the land use piece. The other piece is getting back to the quality of life issues. I believe I agree with Commissioner Pai on this, that, that's, we may find if we were in option 2, that was part of the co-design, that people want to get that information. And so then it would not be precluded. Is that correct in relationship to revenue, who pays, that type of thing? Okay, I'm just asking. That includes the sheriff update, TBWD, THPRD, and CWS frequently makes presentations as well. Okay. So, and then the other concern I have, and I'm just going to state this, that while I understand the opportunity for change, the opportunity to look to a new design structure in option 2, there's a part of me that worries about the loudest voice. And we've had that experience across our county. And I think that it's really difficult to sift between the loudest voice and the greatest need. So when you say co-design to me, I have similar reservations, I believe, that Commissioner Snyder had from the standpoint of who's doing the talking here. Because to date, we've had good information about those issues. So I have concern about option 2 from that standpoint, and the magnitude that it takes to implement an option 2. So those are my points. The other thing is, I do believe that my experience is with CPO 1 and CPO 7. Okay, that's my district. That's who I work with. One of the things that we are risking here, in my belief, is that localized issue, whether it's Thompson Road, whether it's Kinney Terrace, whether it's the cottage development that's going into CPO 7. That, and I recognize that at the end result, it goes to the Planning Commission, but nonetheless, that voice is lost from my perspective there.
Thank you. So you had no other consideration?
No, I want to wait.
That's different than option 1 and option 2. But considerations is a different question than option 1 or 2. So you had no other considerations you want to bring. Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Willie.
Oh, yeah, well, I have not been a fan of this CPO program for quite some time anyway. I felt like we spent too much money on it every year. And I realize that we have reduced our investment in CPOs, but I still, I just think generally our CPO program has evolved into a geographic CPO. So I know the CPOs, the 2 CPOs that are active right now in District 4 have, quite frankly, their own agenda. And other CPOs in other districts have been pretty consistent in what it is that they do. From what I understand, I don't go to them, but I hear from Pam primarily is the CPOs in District 2. And so we're kind of all over the board on this. I also As I've said, don't feel like we're getting a very good return on our investment in these. They're costing us. Some of them are costing us because we're constantly policing them. In which case, my sense was they're basically pushing back and saying, you have no authority over us. So two drivers of this project for me is to either figure out how we get these things under control and get going as to what the program was initially intended. And then the other is budget issues. We haven't talked about what option one is going to cost. We haven't talked about what option two is going to cost. I don't think, at least from my own standpoint, I don't have an understanding of actually how much money investment we make into these every year. When we're talking about UT makes presentations and other of our departments make presentations, that takes staff time and it takes, it takes away from their daily work. So I don't think we've really, from that standpoint, I mean, I know we've gone out, we've done a good job of kind of looking at this and talking about this, but from my standpoint, what is going to drive my decision on this is going to be exactly that. What is this program costing us and what are we getting out of it? And if you had to ask me right now, without having those answers, I would say we cancel the project. We cancel the program completely.
Option three.
Option three.
Willie, you, in what you just said, and sort of the earlier part of it, you said go back to what they were originally supposed to do. Is that a reference to going back to like basically focus on LUT goal one kinds of things, or what did you mean by that?
Well, my sense is, and I don't have any. I have 7 years now of CPO really hands-on experience. But my sense was initially this was an opportunity for people to get together and talk about what the county is doing, maybe more specifics, either with land use or whatever, and be able to provide an avenue of information back to the commission. Okay, so it was our way of outreach. I think that scope has significantly expanded, and now it's almost like it's no longer a two-way conversation. It's more of a, this is what we think you should be doing, and this is what, and we don't think you're listening. So, I may be completely wrong about this from the standpoint, but that's my outside looking in perspective. I do not attend CPO meetings since, I don't know, when we were running in 2018, we attended them. When we had a few in 2019 and 20, but then COVID kind of shut them down. And so I just have not regained and quite frankly haven't been invited. So I have maybe a little bit of a jaded perspective of this project, but so yeah.
So my turn. And this topic needs to end at 2:45. So throughout our years of wanting to overcome the limitations of the resolution and ordinance from the 1980s and to learn from experience to date, I've been looking for options that are consistent with our strategic plan update. And also to be focused on the county government realities of 2025 forward. So those have been really two important factors for me. I do have a question. You laid out option one and option two. I'm looking at you, but who this is directed at out of the staff proposal is open. How do you ensure that you've talked about geographical based off of the district boundaries, because that's what we directed to be in line with the district boundaries from our census alignment work, and I stand by that. But how do you make sure that we have a proactive setup so that we overcome the chair being excluded from engagement and awareness of the program?
Go to all of them. One.
Yes, but that alone doesn't do it. You have to have proactive, specific steps that are taken. You always remember you have at least 2 members of the board for every district. And once again, not outlined. And this is not the first time I've asked it. So I'll just leave that as something that needs to be addressed before we have any resolution in order coming. So I've been interested in option 3 all along, going with the Planning Commission only on the land use and transportation, knowing full well that the departments have to continue with public engagement for their various programs. One way we do that is through the various boards and commissions. Another way we do that is the departments work together in a one Washington County approach, look at what the needs are, engage with various forums. We also invest a lot in webinars, focus groups, you name it. So what we didn't include in this presentation was that graphic where there are a lot of different ways to involve community engagement. And I think that with any presentation as part of the resolution and order, we're going to need to have a clear graphic for how the county continues to achieve community engagement goals, even with potentially option 1. I'm going to put my foot down and say absolutely no on option 2. Then through co-design here with the county, for a couple of things. The fact that the slides talk about focus and scope is defined through a collaborative approach. No, we're the county government. We have a strategic plan update. The focus needs to be clean. It's about county government services. On option 2, your third of 5 slides allows the structure to evolve with community priorities, greater potential. It just gets us back to high likelihood of we're back to where we started. I also don't believe we should be leading edge with regard to our community engagement. Leave it to other county government agencies on that. I do remember CBO taglines of nothing for us without us, but I don't think that our need and their interest in co-design is really something genuine that we can move forward with at this time. I also want to say I'm really tired of the wayward CPOs, specifically CPO 4K and what transpired with that CPO going after the city of King City. CPO 8, I volunteered to serve as the board focus point for getting them back to what is required. Ms. Courtney Duke Dreesen, ICA, and I have spent far too much time. Alicia's been involved with that too. Banks, CPO has insisted originally that you had to be a US citizen to participate, which is, we had to spend way too much time on that. So there's too much wayward going on. Knowing full well, CPO 1, CPO 6, CPO 7, historically CPO 3 have been welcoming to those who are interested. But there's still a lot of self-selection going on. So from my standpoint, I am not at all willing to pursue option 2. Option 3, I think, makes it easiest, but I can see the appeal of option 1 based upon what we talked about years ago, and I'm open to option 1. But we also need to stick with the December 16th plan to get this resolution and order done. I'm also open to having a limited public hearing of maximum of 30 minutes for a public hearing with the RNO, but know full well that we really need to get this wrapped up. So that's my first round. We need to be very efficient with round 2 because we still have other agenda items we need to do. So,
Chair, can I ask a question about the remarks?
No. Because of time. So round 2.
If time and money weren't a consideration, option 2 is probably better. I like co-design, takes a long time, costs a lot of money. I don't think we have that. We need some structure. Speed, I think that means option 1. I struggle with the idea of eliminating this entirely because I do believe community engagement is valuable and needed. And while I did hear maybe in option 3, there's a different way of engaging. I don't know enough about what that would be. We need way more detail before I'd be willing to just eliminate the program, our entire community engagement program entirely. It's sort of where I'm landing. So
we're not removing all community engagement, just the current CPO structure.
And
is there other means?
To many people, that is the face of, I'm not saying it is, but to many people, it is the face of our community engagement activities. I would need to know a lot more about how we would bridge community engagement in a more robust way to think about just completely eliminating the CPO program.
Got it. Commissioner Fine.
Thank you, Chair. I think for me, I'm in that predicament of like 2 CPOs that work very well, so I might don't change anything. So if I would have an option, I would be like, let's go on this journey of changing slowly. That would be my option 3. But that option is not the staff recommendation, and I want to be respectful of your efforts and the time you spent on this project and give you my recommendation to what is in front of us. The thing I don't want, I think December 16th is way too fast. I think we need to really take a time, and a lot of people are on vacation anyway. The participations is going to be very slow. The time to get this information out to the community is going to be difficult. So I don't think I want that option to come back and to come back to December 16th. I think we need to slow down, give time to our community, and bring them along on this journey. I think for me, if I were to pick an option 1 and 2, I'm a bit agnostic on both options, but I could live with either option for me. I think my number 1 option would have been option 1, but hearing what Commissioner Snyder articulated in terms of how he got to that conclusion to pick option 1, I can also live with that and support if we need it.
You were meaning you slightly preferred option 2 to begin with. You said option 1 and then
option 1, yeah, option 1. But hearing what you said about option 2, I'm willing to support that if that was a need for you guys to get 3 commissioners. And then the other thing I don't want, I heard a time constraint on the public hearing. I think that this is a significant change for our community. Yes, we were not here in the 80s, but this is a critical work. We already invested so much time, taxpayers' money into this. Let's do it well and let's not rush to it. I hear there's potential board turnout here, but I think that we need to be focused and we need to be methodical in how we change, because government shouldn't disrupt people's lives. Government should be an added value. We see the change, we did our due diligence, we can convince the community to come along, but we can't convince them if we're bulldozing them and we're picking time randomly to say, bring this back RNO. Let's not rush to an RNO. Let's do a robust public hearing. Let's bring the community on board. That's my recommendation to you all, to my colleagues, to say, let's not rush to it. Let's slow down, let's take our time and come back. And if there's a tie break that needs to with option 1 or 2, I'm happy to jump in because I think you did your due diligence on these 2 options. And I, as a board member, can live with any of them, even though I prefer an option that says do a slow change. Don't change it all.
How does what you described differ from, you don't have slide numbers that I can see, from the timeline from option 1? If you could go to the slide number 5 of 5 on option 1. That one.
How do I see? What specific? Say more about this. I'm not sure I saw.
You're advocating for go slow so the community is brought along, which is what I believe the Q1 bubble gets at. And through the whole program where the new program launches in the fall.
Where's the RNO here? Where is, when I say slow down, preferably, I think the summer of this is when RNO should come into the board. That's how I see it go slow when I say
so intentional pause. Decision. Yeah. Got it. Now I understand. Thank you. Commissioner Treese.
Thank you. It's been very helpful for me to hear all of your comments, so thank you. I will land on option 1 with caveats. Those caveats are, I don't like the regimented every other month. I think that I'm much more comfortable with a given number of meetings, but maybe it is, and that's determined by what the need is, not a regimented approach there. That's number 1. I like the idea of hearing from the community about what needs are, and I think that was the basis for your co-creation concept. I don't think that if we go with option 1, that precludes us from that into the future. So I do believe that it can continue to modify. As far as waiting in terms of another 6 months, my understanding is that the RNO is about cleaning up the old verbiage primarily. Am I right about that?
It accomplishes many things.
We're waiting for your direction. You do that, or we were waiting for your feedback.
We can't do that. They can't give, they don't have direction until we give them.
What it might do.
We have to give them
direction. Okay. I'm really asking is what were your thoughts about what that would look like?
Oh, we had those presentations multiple times in the past.
Okay. So that's fine. I'm trying to weigh Commissioner Fai's request for delay versus what value it brings. So I'm not ready to weigh in on that, frankly, but I would weigh in on option 1 with an open end, and that's our prerogative as a board moving forward. This board, future board, any board, is to determine if it's working or if it's not.
It doesn't have to be all or nothing either. There can be option 1 with some co-input.
Yeah.
Like we're talking like these things are mutually exclusive.
They're not. That's really my point, Commissioner. And so that's where I'm at.
Okay, so I start with slide 8. And I review those to say which one do I think best fits this.
What's the title of slide 8?
Revised staff recommendation. On the first one. Right, there you go. Okay. We talk about budget constraints and considerations. I've already said that. Financial and resource efficiency. I said that. What are we getting? Legal, regulatory, and compliance factors. That's what we've been dealing with. Operational feasibility and sustainability, public perception, performance, participation, access and opportunity. This is a really good outline of what it is that we're trying to accomplish here. So with that, I like option 1, A, B, C, or D, whichever one you want to pick of these, but to me, it still comes back to we are financially constrained. And we are trying to build a program, a new program with no financial boundaries and no sideboards on this. We haven't said go build a program and you got $200,000. We've said build the program. I don't think we can do that. So from my standpoint, my option 1 caveat is going to be, it's got to have some financial constraints to it.
Has to be affordable. Has to be affordable.
Yeah. That's on.
Okay. So I'll close it out. I think option 1 has certain attractions. I really appreciate your bringing this slide back up because the realities are facts. And I think option 1 may provide us with that, but I think you're spot on with regard to the financial constraints. We're not going to have more resources. We're actually going to have fewer resources. It's where we really need to focus our very limited resources. I do want us to move forward with due haste on the development of the R&O that makes it clear for the land use part what the planning commission role is, and the option 1 timeline and the focus that your presentation has talked about with option 1. We're going to hear all kinds of things from the community because we've been hearing all kinds of things from the community since we identified the need to modernize the CPO program under Latricia Tillman. It's been years. I am not interested in us continuing to wade through fog. Okay. Does it have to be December 16th? No, it could be done in the first 2 board meeting weeks of January. But the point is, we're getting this done. We're getting it done on that timeline for option 1, period. We've got to get this work done.
I agree with that one.
I also don't agree that we can afford a frequency more than or meet for districts set over different months because we don't have the staff capacity for that.
I didn't say more. I just want to be clear. I wanted the flexibility for them to determine when those meetings were, not every other month.
I think we're going to have to define a sideboard on that. Okay. Because the whole point of this is to make sure that the county government needs with community are met and not just free form from community members because that's how they want to do it. But I remember that option 1 timeline and the the transition and design and clarity that has to go into that. And I'm fine with navigating that. That does put work on this board with staff through that summer timeframe to make sure we're all clear before things actually launch in the fall. But they can and need to launch by September so that things are in practice in that latter part of the year.
I just want to be clear that I do want to hear from the community, and I want to, as a board member, I want to facilitate that. So I hear you, Chair Harrington, that you don't want to be in fog, he said, but I as a board member will want to hear from the community members.
So Commissioner Fye, you do not have a monopoly on that. No one here has said they don't want to hear from the community. As I've said, we've been hearing from community for years on this.
But you don't want to hear from us. So I'm just saying, I want to hear board members. Now is the time to say, what do you want to do?
I don't believe I said I don't want to hear from community. I said I want to get this thing done. And I offered a public hearing. I offered moving into January. So to say that you're paraphrasing is not correct.
So let's work on public hearing happening in January. So there's time for notice in it.
January is too soon either. R&O for January, it's like
I think you've been
we're
heard,
in December.
you've got four people on the commission saying no to that. I mean, they pretty much said no to that.
No, I implore you to entertain the idea of postponing it to the summer. I'm recruiting you all to say, give the staff time to work on the R&O until summer and come back to the R&O.
I think staff has spent a considerable amount of time to what's going on already. I think they have a pretty good sense of how to build this option. Okay. And yeah, we can put, because when we talk about co-design is
that's option two.
That's it too. Co-design is what we're doing. When you talk about a public hearing, when you talk about more input, it's co-design because they want to tell us how we should be building. We should be more than willing to listen. But I think we've been doing that, and we need to give staff direction, and that's what the R&O does. And we can't do that in summer and roll it out in September.
In many ways, the feedback that's being provided for years, which predates my time on the board, but I watched, as a regular attendee to some of the CPOs in the past, like this is the longest informal public hearing on any topic I've ever seen. I mean, that's really from my perspective, what's really been going on.
Thank you. We really need to close this topic and move on with the rest of the agenda. So we have direction to our staff to move forward with option 4 and to bring us a resolution in order no later than our second business meeting in January.
Yes.
At this juncture, I think balancing the needs of our agenda and the board, I'd like to recommend just a 10-minute break at this point and reconvene.
I think we need a 10-minute break too. Shit.
Well, boys and girls, there you have it. So, anybody else feel speechless?
No, I made notes.
Well, I did too.
I think if I was going to design a way to kill a program over time, I would design it just this way. You remove the resources and then you say nobody cares about it and we'll kill it.
Yeah.
So to say that they have been hearing about the program is really not true, because we have prepared multiple documents to respond to the different phases of the design. And each time we get ready to share those, they change the plan. It's like Charlie Brown and Lucy.
Yep, I absolutely agree. I've been sending some information to Commissioner Fye, for instance, some of the products that we've produced that were never published.
Yeah.
We had invested, yeah, and they were things, yeah. So anyway, so I don't mean to take the meeting away. I just wanted to like.
I'll tell you what else. I know who I'm going to vote for commissioner, and it isn't going to be Trace.
Thank you. Well, anyway, this is
So
a
Eric, you're up.
Thank you. I need to leave the meeting. I offer the following brief comments. I think everybody who's volunteered at the CPO program should arguably have a nice warm spot in the sun and enjoy their hard work. I'd like to just suggest that one of the things that made CPO 6 work is that we did not have the additional structure of a city. So we just did it ourselves. And just because we do not have the county support does not mean that we cannot self-organize. That does not mean that we can't do things for ourselves, among ourselves. This involves activities such as forming voting blocks, PACs, and just having your own meeting. And you do not need the county to provide a newsletter for you to have your own meeting. I'd like to give you two quick examples with standing. So I use CPO 6 as an incubator, and we created a library, and that library has 9,000 plus square feet and has been operational for over a decade. Since 2012 or 2013, Aloha now enjoys a historical society. The Historical Society receives virtually no public funds. It runs on next to zero donations, and it still gets the job done. And so if somebody wants to cry in their milk about not having this or that, do it yourself. And I'd like to just thank everybody because I've formed some friendships I really like, and those are ones that I'd like to just continue, and I'm grateful for that. Anyway, I need to leave the meeting, and I look forward to working with you. And if you choose to reach out to me, and maybe I could be a partner with you in some of your activities. If you need a signatory on a letter, if you want to run something up the flagpole and need somebody to listen, I'd be happy to give you a couple minutes. I'm going to close there. Wave goodbye. You guys take care.
Thanks for being here, Eric.
Yep.
Okay, Fran, what do you got?
Okay. So we can, let me just tell you what I had on my notes. One of the things I had was they talked about 150 civic leader graduates plus ACRE. So why aren't we seeing those people in the CPO program, number one? But more importantly is when they talk about public hearing, for 30 minutes, are they going to invite the civic leader graduates and ACRE? They're talking about totally virtual in areas that have no broadband. I mean, that was another elimination of, stuff. I think that this whole plan is just simply shifting fiscal resources to LUT. I don't think they recognize the cost trade-offs of the phone calls that we defer as a result of informing people and things like that. So the CPOs that are functioning well, as they put it, do a lot of that deferral in educating the public. So
yeah, it wasn't at all clear to me that that the groups that are talking about having the planning commission take over, especially with and OAO and LUT are having ongoing discussions about how to accomplish this. So the video could well be a little bit out of date for their thinking, but we won't know what they're thinking until they present the next round of ideas to the board.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the commissioners need to be thinking about this shift of fiscal resource. It may not necessarily be a cost savings. And remember, Willie was very much about the ROI. So that's just my comment there. The other one was the option of planners coming to CPOs as needed without regular CPO meetings and structure is infeasible. It puts an undue burden on CPOs to resurrect contacts and establish meetings to listen to what the community wants or needs to respond to the planning committee coming to us. So you're expecting the CPOs then to, turn on a dime where in situations, and then if we don't, then they'll say, well, we didn't get the response from the CPOs. But I mean, that was their model, is that they will come to us when they need feedback. Catherine mentioned that the CPO program is part of county government. We don't need change to be we don't need to be leading edge. It's just a comment that was difficult to do. She's talking about a strategic plan, and then she's not willing to think about the future. We've been working on the CPO update modernization since 2016, and a 30-minute public hearing seems too little. But on the other hand, I'm kind of all for, let's put this to bed one way or another. We are starving this monkey over the years. Either kill it or feed it, is my position. That's an old Intelism, which I'm sure Bruce recognizes. A really good point of not rigid, but rather a selected number of meetings per year. I thought Pam had a great point, because sometimes you only get this 120-day window from beginning to end on something really, really critical, and you may need multiple meetings. And there are other times when some CPOs don't meet during high fruit picking time, or the agricultural community, etc. So I love this idea that Pam Treese came up with, which is as needed would help. I think that it was a good point that they have multiple presentations of what the CPO R&O looks like. And Catherine spoke about option 4. I haven't seen those R&O recommendations. I don't know if anybody else has seen them.
There are none yet.
But she said that they have seen multiple presentations of the R&O.
I know it. She said that, but I don't think that she was speaking correctly in that.
Well, I'm just saying that Pam Treese asked for that, and then she said, well, you've seen multiple times. And I don't know if she just misquoted, but she did say option 4, whatever the heck of that is. So those were my notes in particular. I do think that we could respond in terms of speaking to that staff recommendation thing about budget constraints, financial resource efficiency, that slide, and speak to what we do relative to that. And I concur with Eric. We are getting virtually no real resources from the county. The whole reason we were hoping, at least I was engaged, was because I was hoping that our voices would be heard in unison, one big voice, and help the county, especially LUT, in their decision-making process. But if they're not going to listen to us, then they're not really being helpful in any way. I like the idea of us just going to a privatization model if we need to.
Okay, Virginia, does anybody else have comments they want to share? Hold your thought, Virginia. Paul?
Paul, he called on you.
Paul?
Muted, Paul.
He's not muted.
Okay, Ben. Ben, why don't you take it away while Paul's unraveling things?
Yeah, so one of the thoughts that kept going around and around in my brain while listening to all that, and when they talk about the dire financial straits that the county's in and all that, I mean, it's obvious they're looking for ways to cut the budget wherever they can. But when we think about why we exist, we can easily say it was back in the 80s. It has to do with goal 1. It has to do with, state law. We fulfill that in whichever manner. But the real reason why we exist is because Washington County is weird.
Yeah.
We have 200,000 people in urban unincorporated areas who otherwise you would have the infrastructure and the connectivity of a city providing a lot of what we do. That doesn't exist, therefore we exist. So this is a problem the county has brought on itself. When they always say, I don't know how many times I've heard from various commissioners, if these unincorporated areas wanted to be a city, they could just vote to become one. Like it's that easy.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think of there's one thing Bull Mountain proved, it takes a city to become a city. So it's only the county that can break the chicken and the egg problem. So we're here because of that. We're here because nothing else exists that fulfills the role that we did. And that's a long wind up to say, so if we're going to talk about finances, we're going to talk about ROI, we're going to talk about why we're here. Is it time that we request that there be another tax incident study done?
Yeah.
Because that was when years ago we looked at how much were the urban incorporated, urban unincorporated, and rural areas each contributing to the county versus what they were getting back.
I
And
believe it's part of the work program that the CAO's office would like to see that happen.
Oh, the service incident study, right? It's the service incident study.
Well, just to see what the urban unincorporated is costing the county to operate.
But the point I'm trying to make there is to say that the last time that was done, it was shown that we were a net positive
Yeah,
for the county
yeah.
budget. The urban unincorporated areas are. So if we're net positive, then we should have a little bit of say in what that extra is going to. And the CPO program is cheap in comparison to the rest of the county budget. It's a rounding error. And you almost want to say, like, if you add up all the staff resources they've spent since 2016 compared to the cost of the CPO program, just
Yeah.
discussing its mortal existence.
Well,
Is
but
this really enough?
keep in mind the comment about the rogue CPOs, which have caused a lot of commissioner and county council overhead.
Yeah, but this is one of we're not being asked to iron out some wrinkles. We're being asked to throw the baby out with the bathwater
Yeah.
and then figure out how to start over again. But
Thank you.
so that's
Cogent.
my long-winded.
Okay. Paul, are you online yet?
Yeah, I think so. There's a problem with my laptop when I plug in headphones, and it cuts out the microphone for some reason.
Yes.
Anyway, my thought, listening to what Willie was saying about cost, point out the fact that we're not taking anything from the tax bucket. It's all, in the past, it's all been from the lottery.
Yeah.
Paid for whatever we did. So if they can't manage the cost from those lottery funds, how do you expect them to manage it on the taxes?
Good point.
Okay. Jill. No, Jill, not Mary Lou.
Well, I just have a couple things that it kept bothering me. Mostly when Chair Harrington was speaking, simply because she bothers me most of the time when she has something to say. She really resists listening to the constituents, and I just like to remind them, meaning the commissioners, they do work for us. You know, we are the representative of the community, and they work for us. And
Uh-huh.
I don't think they remember that. They don't remember that they're being paid by us. It's our lives and our property that they are making rules about, and the idea that they don't want to listen, it just kind of kills me. That it's like they get elected to be on this board, and from then on it's like, okay, we're in charge, and we'll let you know if we want to know anything. We'll let you know if you can help out with some ideas, and we'll let you know how you can do that. And I just feel the resistance so strongly from Catherine.
Yeah. So what's your second point?
But then I have to remind myself that she's gone after next year. So,
Well,
you know, she's in the 26 is her last year. She's gone. And so we can't hang things on her so much, you know, and I'm guilty of that constantly. But I was a little bit I was feeling a little bit better when so many of them mentioned option one. I mean, that is encouraging, right? It isn't encouraging.
well, I mean,
Virginia's shaking her head like mad.
well, we
It,
don't. I mean, it proofs in the outcome, and so it's better than killing it, I suppose. Um, but okay, so does that kind of wrap you up? Okay, Stan, what do you got?
I just wanted to weigh in, and I know you're probably a little tired of me at these days.
No, not yet.
Not,
You got 5 minutes.
Thank you. No, it'll be less than that. Five was the one that brought about a lot of things that we as a group have talked about, quality of life, that it's had because land use has shifted over time, that it is quality of life that we're talking about. The other thing was, my dearest Catherine, I really used to like her. She was one of us.
She was.
She was one of us in your time, Bruce.
Yeah, we worked on a marketing plan together for the CPO CCI program.
Yes. I had the experience, the opportunity to revisit a bit of that, which actually made me more aware of you and several others that are present and accounted for. I don't see Jim here. But the last part is, I really think, and I don't know if it's just Catherine, but it really does seem she's the dominant, that she is totally out of sync with who is here tonight and and also involved in our efforts, that we may be few, but we are representing our communities all over the county.
Yeah.
And I think she has lost this some way, somehow.
I think that the difficulties that certain CPOs have inflicted on her has overwhelmed any other aspect of her thinking about the program.
I don't care. There's just a few. There may be two.
But time, okay. So
okay, I'm just saying the majority of us, and present in particular, we have devoted decades, well, minus me because I'm a decade plus, but most of us have dedicated a lot of our life to this. And kudos to all of you. And I probably won't go away anytime soon. So I might make this second decade or 3 or 4. Long life.
Okay.
So I end there.
Okay, thanks, Stan. Mary, what do you got?
I want to start out by saying I did testify before the Board of Commissioners today, specifically about the amount of urban and incorporated in our county, as well as our Planning Commission only dealing with long-range issues, not current planning issues. And both of those issues really make our county different from likely the counties that use Planning Commission for their CCI program. Um, I also have been meeting with staff about our budget. There seem to be different numbers floating around, and there's actually $350K that's been allocated to community engagement, but the CPO CCI is only a portion of that community engagement. There's also boards and commissions that is run through that, acres run through that, and one of the big ones is the 80K that is allocated to civic leaders. And they said that there were 11 people that were trained this last year in the civic leaders program. So that means that it costs almost $11,000 per trainee. And I think somebody needs to point that out. They seem to ignore the fact that, you know, we went through calculations and computed that CPO and CCI leaders contribute at least 1.7 FTE per year. And it's like, you know, we're adding value. You know, boards and commissions, yeah, they give you advice, but we actually make a difference in the community. We are spreading information throughout the community and resolving issues for community members, or helping point community members in the right direction.
Mary, when you talked about budget recently with staff, was the fact that there is no number that identifies how much is spent on the CPO program acknowledged?
I don't think we didn't get that far in the conversation. It's an ongoing conversation. They actually presented information at ACRE about costs for the boards and commissions, the costs for ACRE, and the cost for civic leaders, and the cost for the CPO CCI program. And they gave data there that said it was actually $270K that they were spending on the CPO program. And the number that they used really didn't make any sense. It just, you know, it's almost like a number they pulled out of the air or pulled out of the budget, because that was what they were expecting to spend, without really reducing that number by the costs that should be allocated to a different program. We don't have a standalone budget category. So no, and you know, one of the things they showed on this ACRES slide was that there were 1,000 people participating in the CPO program. And when I questioned them about that, because that would mean, you know, even using their numbers, they're only allocating $270 per participant. And they said, no, those numbers are wrong. That shouldn't have said 1,000. That should have said 100. So there's numbers out there that are floating around that you know, you don't have any idea who's seen them and who's taken that as gospel. And, you know, certainly it could be the numbers Jerry Willie is looking at. I don't know. The other thing I would encourage people to do is to look at the website for Skyline Ridge, and I think it's Neighborhood Association, or it may be Skyline Ridge Neighbors, but it's like a neighborhood association. And I think many of us have heard about the Forest Park Neighborhood Association, and it's mainly people who live up on the ridge in and around Forest Park. And there are enough people that live in that area that it's actually supported by City of Portland. The Skyline Ridge neighborhood is far enough out that they don't have that support from City of Portland, but both organizations are 501c3 organizations. So they're able to accept charitable contributions. And Skyline Ridge has I think it's a monthly newsletter that comes out. And
the Ridge Runner. So I found the website, and if this were an actual citizen-oriented, resident-oriented, people-oriented meeting, I could put it in the damn chat. But it is www.srnpdx.org. Skyline Neighbor. What does it stand for? Skyline Neighborhood. Skyline Ridge Neighbors. Skyline Ridge Neighbors.
Okay. So I really encourage people to take a look at that, because it is possibly something we can look at to model. I think one of my concerns, I believe that both Forest Park Neighborhood Association as well as Skyline Ridge, they get the communication from their from Multnomah County. So they get notices of decision and public notices and information about land use applications that are filed. I believe that Forest Park Neighborhood Association is actually able to sit in on the pre-application conferences as well. So, real differences with other jurisdictions. But I think, there are things out there that we can look at. And I think, moving the land use portion to the Planning Commission seems like a really simple way to deal with the land use. I don't think anybody's really thought through the ramifications of it.
Well, no, clearly. Thank you, Mary.
And, I guess the last thing is, and it's probably a question for Fran, at what point do we reach out to Sadie Carney and say, we need help?
Fran, what do you got?
Yeah. I've been doing that continually and not getting any definitive response. I think we're now at the crux where this is going to be an R&O, and if they're considering, eliminating, I'm going to take it to DLCD and possibly contend, depending on what the CCI wants in terms of challenging their decision. But so far, I've gotten no support. I think we even invited Bruce, bless his heart, came and spoke, and we really didn't get any definitive support from the rest of the team.
So is there something CCI can do to help light a fire under them?
Yeah, so our next meeting is in January. And what I need to do is start getting maybe some of the other members to come on board and help us. I mean, after all, I'm not even the Washington County rep. We have a Washington County rep. I'm the at-large rep. And every time I've invited whoever signs up to be Washington County, they disappear. So let me just take that offline. But we should be able to go to. I may ask Sadie if we can go to somebody in specifically responsible for the goal 1 stuff to take it that way, as opposed to the community involvement advisory committee.
Fran, there was a House bill that directed the CIAC to examine goal 1
right
principles, I guess. It was the bill said it was 2029 that they wanted an answer. Is that just died in committee and that's where it stands now?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go ask some more questions about this whole thing.
Okay, Jim, what do you got?
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh.
I asked Fran a question, but she had her hand up.
Yeah.
Right.
But I think, Virginia's been waiting a long time.
No, Virginia hasn't been waiting.
Well, no, she has.
Oh, has her hand been up?
Well, she made some comments at first. I wanted other people to go. We'll go around it. So Fran, you said, so Mary, you asked Fran about Sadie Carney, right?
Yes.
And Fran said she's been asking her and she hasn't responded.
Yes.
So I'm going to see if there's a different arm of the DLCD that I could get some action from, because it's about advising DLCD committees and planners about how to do their job, not necessarily how the counties should do their job. So let me just, I'm going to poke around in other places to see if I can get a response. Now, can I ask my other 2 real quick questions?
Sure.
My other point was, I'm sure everybody heard that Jerry Willie has never been to a CPO meeting, and yet he's the one that wants to kibosh the whole thing. That's pretty amazing, with no information whatsoever, which is consistent with what Mary was saying about with no data on numbers and the RI for a person or for the board to be concerned about return on investment, and they don't have numbers vetted, is abysmal. So
well, I agree. However, behind the scenes, the North Plains mayor has been really getting on Jerry Willie's case about CPO 8.
I understand that we have two different issues going on, and unfortunately, there's been enough in areas, some of the CPOs, which has really gotten the whole CPO program kind of a black eye.
Yep.
And gotten us derailed. And so the key question I'd really like us, before we close tonight, is to say, what are our next steps? What can we do? What is the plan? I just want to make sure we get to that.
Okay.
Most important meeting tonight.
Good. Jim, what do you got?
Unmute. I've been very involved in this. I'm glad that they are going to have a hearing. I think we need to have an action item on our agenda, as Fran was just saying. We need to ask for more hearings. We need to do some other things that to help us do it. One of the things is that with the PC Planning Commission meetings, there were many of them, more than a handful of Planning Commission meetings this year that were canceled.
Yeah.
So how's that going to work? And, you know, the thing with the districts and the thing with us reviewing, having time to review development applications is another question. You know, obviously there's distance and traveling if we're going to do things in person on it for a district meeting, which some people do like to meet in person. So there's many issues. I'd like to make a motion that the CCI request more hearings, particularly one in the evening. Why? Because this is the first time we're finally seeing something. You know, it's been this vague cloud of what's happening here, but now we finally see something. I would like to see the actual resolution in order that they're proposing before having a public hearing. So there's some issues there, and I would like to refer that to the steering committee for tomorrow.
I would second that motion.
And the RNO was supposed to be presented tonight, I mean, to the board on the 16th. Should be ready.
It got pushed back in the work session to January.
No, I understand that, but it should be, the draft should certainly be ready because it was supposed to be presented.
Well, okay.
It will be out a week prior to the board meeting. So we will have a chance to review it before the January 6th meeting. So it'll be out December 28th.
Something like that.
December 30th.
Well, then we need to start talking about what we think about it.
Well, frankly, I think anything we request is going to just be useless. I don't think that at this point, our opinion on anything having to do with the program makes any difference whatsoever. So, Ayla, what do you got?
Well, having pretty much deduced that I'm one of the CPOs that have given the program a black eye, I thought I might as well talk. I think that's outrageous to think that because we have grassroots people that speak their truth and express the way they feel about getting together and talking about land use and having rights to be involved, including CPO 8 and the referendum, which I also was a part of. I'm very happy that we finally got somebody to wake up and listen. You know, I've been looking for somebody else to adopt this whole program. And you know what they said to me? Well, CPOs are nothing but NIMBYs. You know, they don't do land use. They just want to make sure it's not in their backyard. And, you know, we're associated all the time with 1,000 Friends of Oregon and whatnot. And that's just crazy. If that's what we've become, then I don't know, it's not where I belong. I've spoke my mind to the commissioners from the beginning. They lied consistently in this meeting. It was very hard to listen to it twice. They paraphrase and lie about what I say. Having a chair of the board show up at my meeting 5 minutes before it starts and tell me that I should reconsider what I put in my bylaws, that I shouldn't be using the word citizen. I should be using the word community. I'm sorry. What communist state is this? And if that's what you want, if you want a bunch of appointed people, you know, all their little favorites, you can label yourself a CCI favorite, or you can label yourself a planning commission favorite. They're all appointed positions, and you can go along with their little civic leader program that's already telling them the narrative. And it's just going to be the same thing coming out of everybody's mouth. There will not be any individual situations. And for them to say that we have all the same programs and we're repetitive, what a bunch of hogwash. All of us represent different groups of people, and all of us have done beautiful, unique programs. So as far as I'm concerned, they are clueless. And no, Jerry Willie's never been invited to my CPO, because why? What's the point? So, you know, a black eye, yeah, proud of it, and I'll give them another one if that's what it takes. But these people are going to walk all over you. They do not want to have this program. They don't want to hear from you. And if you haven't figured that out yet by listening to this, well, I'm sorry. That's where it's at.
Yeah, I thought Jerry was real negative myself when I heard him talk.
Oh, he blames it on money, but that's not the case. He doesn't even know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
They do not want you coming and questioning their decisions and their direction. They want to spend all this money on a social justice program. They want us out of there. If you're not talking about opportunity and access, you're not on their radar. They don't even, you know.
Well, Acre is certainly the golden child right now. So, Mary, what do you got?
You better let Bruce, or you better let Virginia talk.
Oh, Virginia. Okay.
She
Sure.
got kicked to the curb.
You, Mary. One thing that I wanted to bring up, CPO1 has and CPO7 have been highly engaged in discussing the recovery facility that's going in at the corner of US 26 and Cornell. Who would do that now? And one huge asset that the CPO program has is its email list, contact list, not just email, but mail. Who's going to control that? Is that just going to go off into the ether? And the third thing is, I am more than willing to share our viewpoints in an article in the Cedar Mill News, which has pretty broad distribution, and it's basically the only opposition press in the county, unless we want to do a news release to the Beaverton Valley Times, but who knows what they do with it.
Well,
So
I think that
Bruce, can I finish?
I was endorsing your idea.
Yeah. So if some of you want to help me work on that, I'll need it by like middle of next week for the January issue. I put in an extremely terse article in the, I think it was the December issue, about the options. But we have people who have been paying attention to the CPOs, and I'd be happy to share our concerns that way. I guess that's my next steps offering, is how can we reach out to the communities that we've helped? And it's probably too late. We're on a railroad train to destruction, but maybe we can at least make the public aware of what the county's doing.
Ayla, what do you got? Unmute. You got to unmute.
Sorry, work session today on the Heritage Collection, formerly the museum, was just another example of how they are getting rid of what they don't want. It was horrific. And that is important to our subcommittee, significant natural resources and historical things in Washington County, and it's being destroyed. So just stay tuned with this. This isn't the only program they're getting rid of. And I do want to just support Jim's efforts in having us all do an in-depth evaluation of what our CPOs have been doing. I know CPO, was it 6? I think you guys had a great printout right away of all 12 months, what you've been doing, and lovely, unique presentations from all over. I know I've done a few, CPO 8 and 13 have. So we need to write these down and be ready to defend ourselves. And we might have to market our program to somebody else. I'm hoping Lewis and Clark will adopt us with student attorneys who want to specialize in land use. There are a few people there that teach that also are land use attorneys that have been in Washington County a long time. We need to find somebody that's going to be standing behind us.
Stan, what do you got?
Well, I harken back to the days of yonder when we were, I don't know, 12 or 13. No, we weren't that. When we were shifted from OSU to the county, and then we went through this whole procedure of how did you feel about this transition, and what do you think the county could do to do things better, and blah, 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 blah. And they never did a single thing out of that. And they spent, I don't know how much, 100,000, 200,000, $500,000, I don't know. But they didn't do a single thing. And here we are being in an arena of reducing this even further. And I just, it's going to take me a while to get us, I think, to realize that we need to be strong, indomitable, and fearless in the efforts to continue this program and make it better. They never promoted this program as we asked. They never did a thing to help broaden the scope of this program. And it's just to the point where if we don't, as a group, if we do not scream, shout.
It's past the point. There's no screaming and shouting that's going to do anything. Fran, what do you got?
Well, I got one more thing.
Okay, we'll get to it.
Is the museum, Washington County Museum, is, and I'm echoing what was just previously said by Ayla, that we as a group also need to add our voices to supporting and aiding the preservation of our museum, our history. This is our history.
Okay, good. We're running out of time here. I want to get the last two people. You're right. I mean, everybody write a letter, send it in. We don't have to do it as a group, do it as an individual. For Virginia.
I personally am going to look into annexing into Beaverton. People in Beaverton have a bigger voice than we've ever had.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Clearly.
I mean, I know maybe they don't feel like they're ready to have us, but it's something to look into. Back when I was a lot younger, I was interested in the idea of creating some kind of a nonprofit group to do what we do, but I'm not there. If somebody else is, that's wonderful. I think PSU Urban Studies is another avenue to look at. But Ayla, you say no, but anyway, I think we're dead. It makes me really sad. I've devoted, 20 some years to this, and still passionately believe in community engagement and public involvement in what the government does. I don't think 4 people adequately represent all of it.
Wait a minute, there's 5 people. There's 5 people, not just 4.
I'm leaving Catherine out of the equation.
Okay, Fran, what do you got?
Yeah, I just wanted, for the record, I absolutely want to make sure that Ayla and others understand when I said certain CPOs giving us the black eye. I didn't mean it as it seems to have been accepted. So for the record, what I meant was that these are those who are outspoken are usually speaking up for their community, for their, in quotes, constituents, and the commissioners don't want to hear that, so they make these individuals or these groups easy prey to raise.
I think you're mispresenting. Frankly, I think that those CPOs did create problems. They were inappropriate, and so there's both sides to the issue. I'm begging your pardon, Ayla.
I didn't mean.
And we don't have much time. We got 6 minutes left. I want to end at 9. Jim, what do you got?
Our land use committee we have questionnaires put together to do an evaluation. I was talking to the commissioners today about that. And one of the reasons we wanted to do the evaluation is set up so that there are not appeals. Appeals can be costly. And our thought is that if we can improve the system, that there will be less appeals, and that will save the county money. But I really do want to get back and put a motion out that the CCI should send a letter asking for more hearings.
Man, that just seems like
that's a negative attitude, Bruce.
Well, I know it's a negative, but it's a realistic attitude because they aren't going to do it.
Well, it's okay to go on record and ask for it.
Yeah, I suppose.
I'd like do I have a second on that?
Yes, second.
I think
Okay,
we got one earlier.
We'll kick it around at the steering committee. We'll come up with something at the steering committee tomorrow. Mary?
Can I add something to that motion? I would like to add that the newly re-envisioned program should not be called the CPO program because it would be confusing and it would be a stain on our legacy. And it also, because the board has such a negative attitude toward it, it would start off with a negative vibe. So
Duly
I'd like
noted.
to see that. I would like to see that included as well.
Duly noted. I got a couple. I ask.
Does somebody want to second that?
I'll second
it.
It's part of the deal. Okay, so I asked Ika a couple of questions. She gave me written answers. She is going to have conversations with the legacy other volunteers like Stan and Ben and others, and then she's willing to have a conversation with the CCI leadership about issues that need to be either incorporated in the new program or deliberately eliminated from the program. There is no commitment for a course of action from LUT yet, and they are still in conversations. OAO is in conversations with LUT leadership about the transition, and that yes, asking about collaboration. Yes, there will be collaboration with current CPO leaders, community partners, and community members on what the new program would look like. And that is the limit to what she was willing to discuss before they take something to the board.
I'd like to suggest, Bruce, that you guys in the steering committee tomorrow include endorsement of adding a few more people to the planning commission, because as it stands, the members at large are in the total minority.
Well, that's true. Although, as Jim, I think, pointed out, the planning commission only meets about half the time.
Yeah,
So they aren't overwhelmed with work.
And plus, don't the commissioners assign those people, right? They're not.
No, they volunteer. Well, I mean, there's a process.
No, they're
Commissioners
absolutely
vote on them.
appointed. I've been trying to get on the planning commission for 3 years.
Right.
And they will not appoint anybody that's got a voice they don't want to hear.
Right.
It's impossible. Until the planning commission are elected officials, we will never have any good representation about land use. And they should never get their meetings canceled. Are you kidding me? Washington County doesn't have something to do at a planning commission every month? Come on.
Well,
they do it on purpose, so you don't have a place to talk.
Because they talk about things at a high level and not the community sort of impacts that we have.
Well, exactly. It's all long-range planning or policy, and not the community planning aspect.
And only the biggest developments ever get discussed there.
No, developments do not get discussed at planning commission. No developments. That all goes through current planning.
So for Ika's benefit, listening to this conversation, wrestling with where the land use notifications, the development applications go, who responds them, and how does the county receive input on land use applications needs an answer. And that's, I'm not asking a question, that's just one of the things that needs to be factored into the new program, which is not a CPO.
Do you want me to come to the steering committee tomorrow to talk about the article?
Yes.
Okay.
11 o'clock tomorrow. I can't hardly wait. I don't think there's anything more that needs to be said at this point in time. Thank you.
I think we should plan a party in February, like a wake or something.
Oh, I would be happy to host a drunken sort of brawl.
And I would like to thank Mary and you, Bruce, and Virginia and Jim for carrying the ball on this. A lot of us have kind of fallen by the wayside, and we really appreciate what you've been doing. Don't think we don't care. It's just bandwidth and ability to contend with the issue.
Yeah, well, there's hundreds of thousands of unwashed people who have no idea what's going on in the world, and somebody has got to care a little bit. Jim, what do you got?
And their original plan was not to have a public hearing, but to approve today option 1.
Yeah.
The resolution in order. See, so
Thank you, Jim.
So it stinks.
I think that's a good concluding statement. Let's declare victory on this.
You want a motion? Move to
Let's do
adjourn.
it.
And
I second
I
it.
do agree.
Can you send me an invitation to the steering committee? I don't think I get those.
I'll send you one.
Thank you.
And Gretchen wants one too.
Bye. Been nice.
Good seeing you all.
Hey,